Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
Let's give some props to NASA for successfully landing the InSight spacecraft onto Mars. It's the first robot to land on Mars since 2012. Ben, what are you hoping to find on Mars with this robot?
I'm like quietly hoping that we find microbes, but I feel like it would
the
be
most
kind of a
boring answer you
letdown.
can come up with.
What are you talking about? Life on another planet is a boring answer? You're being ridiculous.
I was going to say alien artifacts or something cool like that.
Oh, okay,
a hyperdrive,
fine.
hyperspace drive.
You watch way too many movies. Give me a break.
If you didn't catch it live, though, you missed 6 harrowing minutes when the InSight lander was descending through the Martian atmosphere. It was kind of a shaky 6 minutes where we weren't sure what was going to happen. And then, NASA later on confirmed the solar arrays were out, powering the robot. And instead of moving around, this robot will actually dig into the planet and get some more information on how the planet was formed. And hopefully we learn a little bit more about how Earth was formed because of this.
Right, and also give some very useful data to Elon Musk to ensure that, I don't know, his Mars colony will be up and running by 2025.
Well, he says he's got a 70% chance of moving there, so
He's definitely ready to go. But it'll be really cool to see what this comes up with. And I was personally very tickled or very happy to see that so many people were really excited about this.
Yeah,
because it's very fun and exciting to see people get really excited about space exploration, especially during Cyber Monday, which granted is like a very retail centric type of thing.
Well, I mean, that's a great segue. Cyber Monday is over. We've got some numbers. Ben, run us down. How big was Cyber Monday?
So Cyber Monday was another huge, shattering success. Broke sales records up and down, but it's really hard for me. I mean, I cover e-commerce. I've been doing it for the past 3 years, and it's hard for me to get too excited about that because if it didn't break records, then everybody would be freaking out. Like much more money is moving online versus offline into traditional stores. So you would expect it to break records. The biggest drivers this year were mobile phones. Okay. A lot more people are buying stuff on phones, including big ticket items, and also this thing called BOPIS, or at least Adobe calls it BOPIS. Buy online, pick up in store.
Oh, okay. Right? I thought BOPIS was a product. I'm like, is this like the hot toy for the holiday season?
No, and as you would expect, there were a lot of here, I'm going to try to find some of the hot toys that we're selling or just the generally hot stuff that was selling.
I'm just surprised that phones was a big seller because generally people still get their phones through their carriers. I guess they're doing it online now.
Buying stuff through your phones was what was really driving traffic.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So some of the stuff that people were buying using their phones included the Nintendo Switch, little live pets, Red Dead Redemption 2, that's not a surprise.
That was me.
LG TVs, drones, Dell laptops, for real pets. I've never heard of these toys. And of course, the Amazon Echo smart speakers. I was waiting for that to join the list.
All right. Well, lastly, CNET review of the PlayStation Classic is out. And our own Jeff Bakalar notes that, the original PlayStation games don't hold up so well. He kind of makes me wonder if the whole classic gimmick of these retro consoles is run its course.
I mean, yes, that feels true to me, don't you think? They overdid it a lot. Nintendo found huge success with the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, but those were some of the very earliest gaming consoles. The Atari one, I think, also came out. But what was really do you really talk to your friends and pine over PlayStation games, first PlayStation games?
I think the Metal Gear Solid game, Final Fantasy VII, those are classics. But I think as Jeff noted, these are the first 3D games, and so they're more akin to the games that we're playing now, and except they look uglier, way uglier. So they don't hold up as well as that kind of the kind of 8-bit, 16-bit side-scrolling action. So.
Like playing Contra with your friends with that guy that jumps he flips 3 times in the air every single time.
All right, that's all the time we have for full coverage. Check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
Thanks for listening.
It's like the countdown music for like NASA itself or something.
Yeah.
It always there's this weird like serendipity when I just let the playlist shuffle and our library music beds just kind of figures it out, and it legitimately felt like we were in like control room, master control, waiting for the lander.
We did
It was like that was the TV movie dramatization version soundtrack. Okay, thanks everybody for joining us for the recording of the audio podcast. That'll publish later. You can download that and take it with you on the train, in the car, or to bed, whatever you like. For the meantime, we're going to take your questions and comments about today's stories and topics at hand. So go ahead and send in whatever thoughts are going through your top of the neck balls, whatever they call those there. Sorry, I'm a little burnt out this morning.
Totally fine.
Let's talk a little bit about the PlayStation since we're still on topic here.
Yeah.
I think I like the point that you made that there's less of a nostalgia factor for that PlayStation because it's not as old. And we were kind of talking about this, like when does Classic run out? Are we going to get a GameCube Classic? Are we going to get a Wii Classic? Are they classic enough to be classic?
I mean,
and I think that's something to be said.
Like a
But
GameCube Classic.
Yeah,
I mean,
think-
as much as I'd like to have it again, I can't classify that as classic, nor can I really the PlayStation. As much as there is a beloved fan base for the PlayStation, that was kind of a turning point into the modern era, I feel.
Yes.
So there's less of a nostalgia factor for
And
the sake of
also-
like the 8-bit art and such.
Jeff notes, the lineup of the games aren't that great. Half of the games are okay. I wasn't really a PlayStation guy, but even I understood the importance of Final Fantasy VII as sort of as one of those hallmark RPGs. But they're remaking Final Fantasy VII into like a new high definition version for current consoles. So like why suffer through the crappy graphics of the original one? We can get sort of the revamped version. I know there are gonna be some hardcore PlayStation fans who are gonna want this thing. I know the classic is already sort of sold out, like it was selling like gangbusters. But I don't see the appeal of it.
Scott Myatt agrees with you. He says, I don't understand the mini retro consoles or PlayStation. If I want to play the original Metal Gear, I'll just dig out my old PlayStation, not a classic. I'm like, Nintendo, people still own their PlayStations. And I say one of the cutoff points should be if there's games out there, and don't get me wrong, PlayStation, awesome. I'm not trying to discredit it at all, but
Right.
if you're better off and finding greater success taking things like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and remastering them and reissuing them on modern platforms, go that route. Don't dig back into the well. People who had those probably still have those if they wanted them. If they want to get them again, give them the refresh. Get the remasters out there. I think that's a better course of action than trying to re-up the hardware itself.
Yeah, and he notes that some of the games that you would have wanted on the PlayStation Classic weren't there. I think Castlevania was one of them, but that's obviously a licensing issue. I think Tony Hawk, and I think that was also...
Oh man,
They don't actually
That's
know-
like one of the only ones that I actually
same
really enjoyed.
here, and I think that has to do with the music licensing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah,
But
So-
man, that soundtrack was dope.
Yeah.
it was.
But I mean, think about it. We've got like the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, and what Spyro just came out with the reissue HD remaster trilogy, and it's doing really well, and it looks really, really good. I would rather see them do more of those than get like a PS2 classic.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Let's go ahead and take some questions from the chat. This isn't a question as much as a testament to my heart. Stringjoy says, I and my friends drank a shot of vodka every time they clamped in the control room. Stringjoy, are you alive? Are you sure you're okay? I'm concerned because that sounds terrible.
Every time they what?
Clapped.
Oh, yeah.
That,
There's a lot of clapping.
That was a lot of clapping. Also, can we
Yes.
talk about the meme elephant in the room and the dancing?
The dancing?
The dancing handshake. That was
Yeah.
absolutely precious.
I loved it. I mean, that was just like an honest moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clearly rehearsed, but they're like, okay, when we land on Mars, we're gonna
Yeah,
do
we're gonna
this.
do this
We're gonna
dance."
do this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. We'd probably do the same.
Sadly,
That's how I end every iPhone launch event. I do a little,
Oh God,
I do a little
that's
shimmy.
so sad.
It's
No, but
over.
it does.
Shimmy.
It does make me feel like I should at least try to add to my bucket list, like be in a control room, like a NASA control room for a major effort.
Ooh.
But like that would never happen. So I don't know.
Never say never.
I guess I could quit my job and go into science
There you
right
go.
now. It's okay.
So what were some of
Never
the
gonna happen.
what were some of your highlights, guys, from yesterday's broadcast? I thought that was really, really well done. I fear what some of the backlash is going to be from the audience who are already skeptics, because it looks like it was super well produced. But I give that to them as a credit. I felt like I was watching an episode of Bill Nye with all the
Oh,
animation
yeah.
and the personality, and it was just I thought it was a great presentation from like a TV producer standpoint.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I didn't really have any issues with. I didn't realize that there would be a backlash that it was too well produced. I didn't realize that was going to be a thing, but I'm sure people find something to complain about.
It was also kind of cool to see. So we were talking about like the grainy image originally.
Yeah.
So Brian, I don't know if you can grab this off of Twitter. I'll try to send it to you through Slack. But after the grainy image, they actually sent a much clearer one later in the day yesterday, which looked really pretty cool. So if you want to follow some of this info, you can follow NASA or you can follow NASA InSight on Twitter just to see what it's actually doing out there. And I don't know, get your mind blown.
Yeah.
Like looking at a robot take pictures on Mars, which is pretty cool.
That is so cool. I hadn't seen the new image. I was here for the stream. Like we carried the stream yesterday, so I watched the whole thing and saw that initial one, which is like that's just kind of cool. Yeah, it was kind of a lame image. It didn't really give you much outside
Yeah,
of like
I was about to
a
say the
feeling
same
in
thing.
about outside of the feeling in your heart. But like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, you would expect a much more modern robot, like much more modern equipment to provide
Yeah.
that type of imagery. So when I first saw the original, like kind of dusty image, I was just like, what?
What is this?
This
Yeah.
is kind of a letdown. So yeah, this was a lot more impressive.
What do you think they're using? A Pixel?
Yes.
Pixel
yeah, this
camera?
is a single
Single lens?
single lens
Single lens.
pixel.
Oh yeah.
So no surprise here. People want to talk more about video games. I guess we
Sure.
just know our
Uh-oh.
audience too well. Scott Myatt says, I wish they'd remaster the original Metal Gear. That would be an amazing remaster. You are not wrong there. Agent Mulder, awesome name, by the way. I want the 80s Star Trek and Star Wars arcade games to get reissued. Those were solid games. Also correct. And then Gabriel says, I like this comment. Well, why refresh? Create new games. They outdid the old function already. New versions and new ideas and new outcomes are the way to go. And that is also an excellent point.
I think they're doing
nostalgia.
both.
Yeah, I'm down with both. Nostalgia is a powerful thing. Some of my favorite games existed on the Dreamcast, which is why I still have a Dreamcast. So
You still play it?
yeah,
Wow.
I loaned it to a friend recently, so he's had it. But yeah, I still played it. Actually, when I first moved to New York in 2008, that was the first thing I unpacked and set up. And within 2 weeks, and that was like the original one I got in '99.
Yeah.
It blew up.
Oh.
It died, so I had to go get a refurb. So I got a refurb in '09, and
Wow.
I've been running that ever since.
Yeah, which is, I guess you're a perfect candidate to get these new types of consoles because I don't think there's a new Dreamcast. But if you really love the games, but that's extremely old hardware and it's really hard to find like refurbished ones,
Wait,
then
would you want to buy a Dreamcast Classic?
No, I would keep buying. Like, it wouldn't be hard to keep finding refurb
Games.
Dreamcasts out there.
Yeah.
With how adamant the
excuse-
audience base is, any console, somebody's out there keeping them alive, remaking them. I would rather have that OG hardware sitting on rather than like a pocket version. Now, I still loved the idea of the NES Classic and the SNES Classic.
Yeah.
They did a really nice job bringing those back. It was a nice one-off. I don't think it's a wise decision for them to turn it into a trend and do everything down the line until we've come completely full circle.
yeah.
But
It's like a year after the console comes out, the Classic comes out. It's just
It's
sort
the
of like, yeah, there
Nintendo
we go.
Switch Classic. It's just basically the Nintendo Switch, but made out
The
of
game,
plastic.
the Game Boy Classic. It's like an even smaller version of the Game Boy.
That's actually, I like that idea of the original
Or
Game
just-
Boy.
Just bring it to your phone.
Yeah.
That's
But see,
what I
that's
want.
it. But
what I
Nintendo's
want.
so apprehensive about mobile development
Yeah.
that's such a tricky place for them to get into. I
It's-
don't know why.
It's obvious that trend is at the very least cooling down. There were so many that were
I
coming
mean,
out
it's,
really,
it's
really
clear
quickly.
why. I mean, it's clear to. I can see what they're thinking. I mean, it's wrong, but they've always been apprehensive about mobile because they're in the handheld gaming business and they don't want to cannibalize it. I've long said that's a stupid fear to have. The fact that they kind of dabble in these games, these kind of mobile specific games, is like their tacit mission that they should be in smartphones, but why not just go all the way? Bring in some of these games, port them straight into your phone. I would definitely, I'd pay good money for accurate ports of Metroid or Legend of Zelda.
I wouldn't
I'm-
even complain if the console developers created dongle and hardware peripherals to turn your phone into that console so that you could tap in like a Bluetooth controller that's reminiscent of the original PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
And then essentially generate the HDMI out from the phone into the TV to get the better, more authentic big screen adaptation. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I'd pay for that.
Well, okay. While I wouldn't disagree with your point, Roger, about that maybe Nintendo should be doing more of this. It's pretty clear from a business perspective that they no longer have to, as much as maybe they did maybe a year or two ago.
Yeah,
like they're
for sure.
doing way better.
Yep.
And the Nintendo Switch was a much bigger success than I think a lot of people were anticipating. So it was kind of the situation where everybody was yelling at them like, get into mobile so your business survives. That's not really the case anymore.
But now they've got the Switch and the heat's off.
Yeah, for sure. So it's possible that the heat will be back on a couple of years from now, but for the time being, I don't think they have any need to get into mobile as much as they did before.
I just love that we've opened up this Pandora's box and people are just listing their favorite games they want to come back. Chris Wesley says Twisted Metal. Priority 1 says Contra.
Definitely.
Carlos says Mega Man. I'm down with all of these. Srinjoy's asking if any of us ever played the Driver games on PlayStation, and I did. I
did not.
loved that game. That was my favorite thing. Precursor. It wasn't really precursor to, but I thought it was better than at the time Grand Theft Auto. It came out before Grand Theft Auto 3, so before they went like full on 3D. So that 3D driving crime spree gameplay kind of originated with Driver. To my knowledge, maybe there's other games that predated that, but I thought that was one of the best. I loved that game.
I don't know that one at
I
all.
wasn't really a PlayStation guy.
Neither was I,
Yeah,
but
it
I'm
was
glad
like
you were.
N64, and then I jumped straight to Xbox.
I had N64. My neighbors had PlayStation, so we'd just kind of back and forth.
Got it.
I did N64, what was it? And then GameCube, and then PS2.
Oh, yeah.
And GameCube was awesome. I'm still really hoping they bring back the GameCube Classic.
Well, we have to wait for
probably
an
buy it.
N64 Classic before a GameCube
That's
Classic,
true.
right? So,
That's true.
And I thought they were going to bring one out this year. Like, I thought Nintendo was going to keep the trend going, but it's a good thing they probably cooled off on that. I feel
That's
like
true.
If PlayStation misstep, not to mention the Atari one kind of sucked. The Sega
Well,
one
the Atari
sucked
one
big
and the
time.
Sega ones were not done by the original company.
Right, they were licensed out
emulators.
to At Games.
Yeah, they were not, and they weren't great. They weren't done well. Like the Sega one had like, I think it boasted of like 100 games, but most of the games were not
Shovelware.
Sega, they weren't part of the Sega lineup. They were just like random crap games that were thrown into it.
That sounds lame.
Yeah.
Also, the sound emulation was total garbage.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like if you can sit there and be like, "This isn't the Sonic the Hedgehog theme I remember," you know something's wrong.
Right.
That's nostalgia done completely wrong.
Yep.
Priority 1 is asking what was the mobile Sega console from the 90s. That was the Game Gear, sir. There was also the Nomad. If we're gonna
Nomad,
dig
you're
deep
right.
on this one,
EVG knows so many things.
I was
Wise,
a
Brian.
gamer kid.
Yeah.
Also, this is a great setup for a little self plug here. Datcher says, "I'm sure it's out there, but is there a reasonable price for an arcade console like full hype box with all the great games from the 80s? That's the retro I want." I myself was investigating this. If you dig around on eBay, you can get a box for like $300 to $500. But that's just the shell. You'd have to put in a screen and like a Raspberry Pi for yourself. Or very own Bridget Carey went ahead and dug into Arcade 1-Up. And
those are great.
this was really neat. And now we have this console, the Street Fighter console. They let us keep it. Bridget built it herself. We'll see that here in a second. And then our very own John Falcone bought a classic retro box that had Galaga. No, wait. Galaxia.
Yeah.
Was it Galaga?
I think Galaga's in there. It was like a whole bunch of
Centipede.
them. Yeah.
And it had the rollerball. Like
What?
they're mini collections. So like
Wait,
there's
have you not
Are
seen
those
this?
turned on? No,
They're
I
sitting
don't
in the
think
break
I.
room.
Yeah, I need to play them right now.
So yeah, these
gotta
things
go.
are shorter, but the art is authentic, and you can easily prop it up on a box.
You
And
can-
of
I
course,
think you
they
can-
sell a convenient box you can pay extra
Yeah,
for.
yeah, they sell like a riser of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
It's silly, but you can also put it on any
How long
box
did
that
it
you
take her
have.
to put it together?
About an hour.
Oh, wow, that's not
It's
bad.
basically IKEA furniture.
Okay.
But yeah,
pretty cool.
That
that
is
was
cool.
really neat.
I like that you can build it yourself.
It's really,
like that's
yeah,
part of
and it looks
the whole
legit.
adventure.
It looks like the legit, like, I mean, not size-wise, like, it's scaled down, but it looks great. It looks like exactly what I played in the arcade.
Yeah. Next up, that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Ooh, is that
was a good
available?
one.
No, but see, that's the one I want. I
Yes,
want the
I
old,
agree.
like, mega
The
multiplayer.
4-player one?
Ninja
Yes.
Turtles,
Yeah,
Turtles
that
in
one.
Time, or Turtles Arcade.
There was
Actually,
also the Simpsons,
Simpsons,
one that was good.
Well, actually,
X-Men.
the X-Men was my favorite because you could do like 6 of them at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
best.
They need to release those as special editions. Charge extra. Have all my money.
Yeah.
All right, we are just about out of time, so getting any last-minute questions. We didn't spend nearly enough time talking about space because we got distracted by nostalgia.
I know.
See what I said? Nostalgia's a powerful thing. So
Sure is.
do we know what the timeline is for develop? I love that during yesterday's presentation she kept saying, so when are we going to see science? When are we going to see some science? It's like, that is the weirdest phrasing that she could have used. But what do we know about NASA's timeline and what their projected projects are going to be in forthcoming months and years with InSight?
Well, like I said, the robot's gonna be drilling down into Mars and collecting data, sending it back. I think the idea is that this thing will be around for the next at least 2 years collecting data. It'll be around for a while.
How long do the rovers usually last?
I don't. That's a really great question. I'm not entirely sure, but this one isn't. It doesn't move around. It actually is stationary because it's really focused on the drill bit. It should last a while. I mean, it doesn't.
Years.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't move around, so there's a lot less risk of it running into issues.
Okay. And what are we drilling for again?
Looking at, I guess, seismic data, looking at how the planet's crust was formed, really kind of looking at that and kind of comparing it to how Earth was formed, and trying to get more of more insight into just how these planets were formed at the beginning.
Right.
So,
And whether we can terraform it.
yeah.
It's just-
Well,
that seems to be the idea.
that's the Elon Musk step. Yes.
But yeah, this is apparently this robot is the first time that we're going to be able to thoroughly investigate what's inside of Mars for the very first time.
Hence
So
why they call it
really that's
InSight.
really what it's going to be.
And maybe
Drilling down
and maybe
on.
maybe getting some. Oh gosh.
Sorry.
And maybe getting some microbes, as Ben is hoping for.
Underground microbes?
Underground microbes. Who knows?
Possible.
I don't know. Fossils.
There you go again.
Wouldn't it be amazing if this robot that they sent up there to build Elon's new house, if it actually found life? Wouldn't that be an
Oh, yeah.
amazing development?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Elon would have to boot out the Martians.
You know, it's
Like,
interesting
sorry guys, you got to move
Just
somewhere
like
else.
Zuck in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
that we're back on Mars now, but over the weekend I spent my time watching MST3K's The Gauntlet, including Mac and Me, which is about Martians.
Oh yeah, Mac and Me.
A true classic. I felt
Also,
like that
those
was
alien
maybe a
kid-
documentary presentation of
Is it
what
like
we're going
a
to see
poor
now.
man's ET?
Yeah, it's a poor man's ET mixed with a McDonald's commercial.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But anyways, we are out of time.
We
Thanks,
are.
everybody. That was a fun Chatterbox today. We'll be back tomorrow with episode 495. Until then, Roger, take us out.
Yeah, 359 is available on iTunes, TuneIn, FeedBurner, Stitcher, Google Play Music, Google Podcast, the Amazon Echo, and of course, CNET.com. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.